At one stage, Semillon was 95% of the planting of all vineyards in South Africa. They called that Groendruif for green grapes. And probably it was used by winemakers at the time because the thick skin of the grape prevented it to rot easily. Therefore, it was a kind of a more guaranteed crop. However, if you're a fruit lover, Semillon is not for you. Semillon is not a grape that will provide primary fruit. None. Semillon is a grape that will benefit from bottle aging, from maturation in your cellar, and then give something extremely complex, spicy, waxy. But when it's young, it can be not disappointing, but surprising, overpowering. And because most of the Semillon we still have in South Africa are fairly old vines, especially in the valley of Franschhoek, where Holden Manz is located, they are bold wines, but to describe them, you have to work on the texture more than on the fruit itself. But if you can describe the fruit, Kathy, your turn.
Thank you for that. I could just bounce that right back to you, but I'm not going to. So, Semillon. People always say waxiness, lanolin, and in fact, one of the very first wines I identified blind was a Semillon, believe it or not, because of that lanolin character and that waxiness, which I am getting on this wine. And in fact, as you said, other than that, there's not much primary thing goings on here. There is some green herb, a little bit of that, and there is some, I don't want to say straw, I want to say Highveld, Gauteng, winter grass. It's a thinner grass than straw, but it's like...
That's very segmenting. It's not really inclusive. So for people for Gauteng, you know what she's talking about.
There we go.
Yes.
By the way, our grass in the Cape, Western Cape and elsewhere in the country during the non-rain season smells a little bit like that anyway. But definitely it's a Gauteng winter kind of smell. And then on the palate too, I understand exactly what you're getting because there's not much flavour on this wine. But it's lean, it's tight, it's austere, it's threatening to open up into something really beautiful. And that is what Semillon does. Let's think of the greatest example of that, the ones from Hunter Valley, where they really bottle them very young, they pick them young, they bottle them young, and then they leave them in the bottle until it develops that really smoky characteristic. We seldom get that on our South African Semillon.
But it's probably as well the reason why we planted less and less Semillon in South Africa. Our new generation, they want immediate gratification. Semillon is not an immediate giver. No. You will have to wait. And bottle aging, both when you use that in a blend with Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc, but specifically when it's a pure cultivar, like this Franschhoek Holden Manz 2020, this is a wine that will need years. And at this stage, what's the most interesting part of it is definitely the texture. It's a blend of oiliness and velvetiness, but sharpness as well, probably coming from a bit of wood, but as well, because of the thick skin of Semillon, even if you don't want to do skin contact, just by normal, gentle pressing, you will extract elements that will make this wine very alive, not on the fruit side, but on its texture side. And as much as it can be a bit frustrating when young, I know that's probably the type of wine I will hold in my cellar to open in a few years from now, because like you said about the Hunter Valley, Semillon needs time in bottle. There's too quick will be disappointing. It can be interesting on food pairing because the texture is that's a powerful wine. But if you really want to get the best of it, I suggest this Holden Manz Semillon Reserve 2020. Give it a couple of years in the bottle.
I wouldn't drink this before 2025.
But on the blind tasting, if you have that wine, the texture is a giver.
The dryness, the texture, and that low-key flavour.
Yes. Definitely. Holden Manz, 2020, French oak origin, Semillon.